Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Bryson with Susquehanna Valley High School in Conco, New York, and today we're going to learn how to factor and solve a quadratic equation using the three methods that we've already learned so far, from a graph, from the Xbox method, and also completing the square. So we're going to do x squared plus 12x minus 12 equals 0. We're going to factor it and solve it from a graph. When we want to factor and solve something from a graph, the first thing we do is we go to our graphing calculator, we hit the y equals key, and we enter in x squared plus x minus 12. Obviously, we can't hit the equals 0. Now, when we graph it, first of all, we will notice that it appears that they cross at not -1, not -2, not -3, but -4, and also +3. We have to confirm that by using our table. So we hit second graph, and we confirm that the zeros they don't both fit on the screen at the same time, but our first 0 is 3 because y is 0. We don't look at the x being 0. Remember, that's the mistake. We look at where y is 0, and then the other spot where y is 0 is indeed -4. So our suspicions were confirmed that the parabola crosses the x-axis at -4 and +3. So just to show our work, we can grab a table, and we don't have to copy the whole table down. We only have to copy the important features and a number before or after so that we understand what's happening here. So now that we've actually looked at the graph, we've confirmed it on the table, we have the zeros are -4 and +3. The zeros are also known as the roots. The roots are -4 and +3. We know, therefore, since the zeros or the roots are those, which happens to be the solution, the factors from this problem are just the opposite of the roots. If a root is -4, a factor is x plus 4. If a 0 is 3, then a factor is x minus 3. It's the opposite. While it's true that this equals 0, we'd be going right back into another circle if we set each part equal to 0 and then solved and said x equals -4 and x equals +3. Okay, these are the factors. These are the solutions, which we found up here by using the zeros or the roots. So that's just a refresher on how to solve a quadratic equation from a graph. Let's do this one using the Xbox method. I changed the question because the strength in the Xbox method is the fact that A doesn't equal 1. So if you remember, A times C goes here, and B goes there. So that's A, that's B, and that's C. So B is 9. Now we think, what two numbers multiply to be 14 and have a sum of 9? If we don't know what the answer is right away, we do what the product is 14. We do 14 divided by x onto our y equals part of the graphing calculator, and we go to the table. We can see here from the table that those add up to -9, but we want +9. Those add up to -15, those add up to 15, and those two add up to 9. So the answer is, or this part of the problem is 7. And so I filled in the left-hand side and the right-hand side with 7x and 2x. That's the x part. Now we make our box. Remember that a goes in here, ax squared, so is 2x squared. Down here goes our c, which is just 7, and then these two parts go in here. I'm going to put 2x there and 7x there because I noticed that 7 and 7x, they have a common factor. Now remember, we look for the g, c, f along this row. What's a common factor between 2x squared and 2x? It's 2x, because 2 goes into 2 and x goes into x. And then that is 7. Wow, this is turning out nice. Now you ask yourself, self, 2x times what equals 2x squared? 1x. Then 7 times what is 7, or 2x times what is 2x? It's the same number, 1. You can check x times 7 is 7x. It checks. So the factors are 2x plus 7 because the 7 is positive, and x plus 1. Now to solve it, we just do 2x plus 7 equals 0, and x plus 1 equals 0. Subtracting 7 from both sides, 2x equals negative 7. X is not by itself. We have to divide by 2, so x equals negative 3.5. Just subtract 1 from both sides, and x equals negative 1. Those are the solutions, and these are the factors. That's how you do it using completing the square. Okay, you can solve any quadratic equation that has real answers by following a few steps. These are the 6 steps, if you do not remember them, on how to complete the square. Write it down. I'm going to delete them in 3, 2, 1. They're gone. Here's the question. X squared plus 8x plus 17 equals 0. Solve it by completing the square. The first thing you check. Is A 1? Yes, it is. Great. Then you write down A equals 1, B equals 8, half of B, G. If B is 8, half of 8 is 4, and then half of B squared, I just got it, so you square it, and it is 16. Now the next step. X squared plus 8x plus 17 equals 0. You move the constant term to the other side of the equal sign. X squared plus 8x equals negative 17. Then we add half of b squared to both sides. X squared plus 8x plus 16. Remember, if we add it to the left-hand side, we have to add it to the right-hand side. Negative 17 plus 16. So this is called additive property of equality. Now, I'm just going to write down that that's negative 1. So now what we can do is we can go right to the answer and say that x plus half of b squared equals negative 1. Take the square root of both sides. X plus 4 equals the positive and negative square root of negative 1. Subtract 4 from both sides. X equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 1. Now, I'm not going to go into the difficulty that poses. Some of you may know, some of you may not. That's just a preview of what's to come. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me in class.